All right, here we go. And I think we're live. Make sure we have our volumes turned off. There it is. Okay, so I see that we are streaming on YouTube. Hopefully it's going on Facebook as well. I think I'm hearing some audio from your side, possibly.
Probably.
Do you have the stream on?
No.
Okay, well, we'll just go with it then. Anyway, so welcome. This is Kersey Fabrications live stream. And with me today, I have Darryl from Off Earth. And he is a cosplayer and he is a prop maker extraordinaire. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. Just using 3D printing specifically and doing prop making in general, cosplay in general, that kind of thing. So if you have been interested in that before and you wonder how you get into it or, how do you get started, that's what we're going to talk about, as well as where do you go with it once you get started. So if you're new to my channel, I'm Chris, and I do a lot of 3D printer reviews, 3D printer mods, and I've been doing it for about a year, and the whole goal originally was to do more of the props and stuff like that I like to make and share it with the community, and so I'm going to try this year to get more and more into that. And so if you're following me on Instagram or Twitter, you've probably already seen a lot of that, as well as Facebook. But anyway, now I'm going to let Darryl introduce himself and what he's up to, and we'll go from there.
All right. Thanks for having me on, Chris. My name is Darryl, or Off Earth, as known on the internets, all the social medias. I like to consider myself an amateur prop maker because I still make, mistakes, and I'm still learning and sharing with the community as well. And I started doing this more mainstream, I guess you could say, in the public's eyes around 2017. But I've been doing cosplay stuff since 2015. But that was back with EVA foam and Pepakura and all that stuff. And 3D printing just kind of like revitalized that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Wanted me to do that,
Making the stuff you never thought you'd be able to carve, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, like, you can only layer, I feel like you can only layer foam so far, or heat form Warbler so much, or shave down Centra or whatever, to get those things, dimensionally accurate the way that you want them. And 3D printing just kind of like came onto the scene and filled that void.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Same thing here. When I got, been into it for years. In fact, my first major cosplay had, I don't think, any 3D printing in it, because I don't even know if when I began it, if I had a 3D printer, and I sure wasn't thinking about it at that point for a lot of cosplay yet.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when I started, it was wood and plastic and, whatever you could carve out of. I've never been really a foam guy, but I liked all the other stuff. I've never been a foam smith. In fact, I stay away from it.
I'm not either, though. I try every once in a while. I'll be like, oh, this would be I could do this out of foam. It'll be fine. And I'll look at it after it's done, and I'm like, this is garbage, dude. Like, what?
Oh yeah. I mean, I watch a lot of the YouTube channels that do foam smithing, and they're just absolutely amazing. The stuff they can make. I mean, it's nice up close. It's nice on film. It really is good stuff. I think, me personally, I've always just liked the feel of something firmer and heavier. It's like a lot of people use foam because it's light. It's easier to carry around if you're going to wear it all day. But I don't know, it's something about the feel of something that has that rigidity to it when you bang into it.
Man, so when I finished my my Landfall ODST, which is based off of the Weta live action Halo Landfall short film that was done in like 2007. They have a different look to their armor than the traditional ODSTs in Halo 3.
Mm-hmm.
So I was looking at it, and there's a whole forum on the 405th, which is a Halo cosplaying group, kind of akin to like the 501st.
Right.
Star Wars. And there was a guy on there who did a whole soft goods analysis of all the like soft armor parts. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. So nobody in the world that I know of, even on the 405th, has completed a head-to-toe Landfall build. So when I did, I was like, oh, okay, cool, this is awesome, you know, and there's foam components, but most of it's wrapped in fabric, so you don't even know that it's foam unless you go up and poke it.
Right.
But dude, that armor is heavy. Like, it is heavy, and you wouldn't even think it by the look of it, just it sitting there on its mannequin. You think like, oh, that can't be that bad, but 8-10 hours at a con.
Oh, sure, yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah, I mean, that's why it's really nice if you attend cons that you're staying there and you have a room nearby, because then if you want to take a break, if you need to go unload the top half or whatever for 30 minutes or something, you can go do that, put it back on, head back down. I mean, one of the things I wanted to talk about is like local cons. Do you have any that you frequent? Ones that anyone may have found you at before?
So I usually stay in the tri-state area where I live at. I live in Ohio, around Cincinnati. So there's a Cincinnati Comic Expo. There's one in Lexington and Louisville. Gen Con, which is in Indiana, that I go to as well. I was planning on going to Dragon Con in Atlanta this year, but I don't think that's going to happen.
See, Dragon Con's my home con.
Which one?
Dragon Con's. That's my home con.
Dude.
Yeah, so we're right here outside. We're north of Atlanta.
Okay.
We started going about 14 years ago, right after my first son was born, and so we started going, and I think we've missed 1 year in the past 14 years.
Yep.
And so it's going to be real sad if we don't make it, but I don't see how it's going to happen. All the cons. I don't know how we're going to get 80,000 people in Atlanta to social distance.
I know. Well, I mean, everybody just wears a helmet.
If everyone's wearing a helmet, we're good to go. Absolutely.
I'll bring extra of these. These Sub-Zero masks for people.
Hey, you probably saw mine. I've got mine printed.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, hey, these are some extras. Whatever.
I really like it. Once I made it fit my fat face, we were good to go.
Yeah, this is right. 100% scale, and I think it needs to go up maybe 5% more to kind of get around like my cheeks.
I found I just took the heat gun to it and spread it out, and it worked out.
Oh, I guess I should do that too. It's Pet G. It can
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I took the heat gun to it, just spread it out a little bit, and then I foamed it in some areas where it had some gaps, and it was good to go.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's see who's in the chat with us today. We got Drone Pilot, 3D Print Viking, HVAC. We got Corey, a lot of the regulars here. If I'm missing you, Thomas, who was there at the very beginning. So I appreciate everyone joining us. This is some of the usual crew I get. And I find that with these streams, it's great because we start out at like 15 people. And about the time we're ready to log off, it's 50. And then you just want to keep going because, we got people talking. So anyway.
Weird for me about live streams. It's like why I've kind of stayed away from it when I'm doing stuff in the garage.
Yeah. Well, no, you notice I'm not trying to work while I'm doing this. This is just a live stream. This is just talking. And
if you see me do this, it's because I've heard a weird noise and I think my printer messed up. I'm looking like, oh, it's nothing.
So I've been printing PPE on half my printers, and so I've got PPE going over here. This one's shut off. This one I have something for fun printing on, but there's been a whole lot of that. Yeah, there you go. You got those ear protectors.
I was actually on the local news for these.
That's awesome.
My girlfriend's cousin wanted one made, so I was like, "Yeah, I'll make you one."
Right.
And then she made a post on Facebook about it, and then the next thing I know, I made like 700 of them and mailed them all out to people all over.
And those are so quick. Those are the best, right? And I'm here printing the Prusa ones, which take a lot longer. I think first of all, I know we can get into this in a minute, but I know you're used to printing PETG. But up until this point, it was my bane, and so I've spent a lot of time having to just accept that it's kind of a pain in the ass to print.
I'm an advocate.
I know you are. So I haven't had a choice. I've had to get used to it. So. But I think I've dialed both of my main printers in for the PETG at this point. You just have to accept that there's some stringing, and as long as you're okay there, then it's easy to clean up. You get it as good as you can.
There's a really great tool for that aside of the heat gun. this Dremel, the Versatip.
I haven't seen that one.
It's a butane-powered torch. And it also has a soldering iron and cutting knife tip that you can put in here. But this thing, you turn it on and leave it on for a minute. The tip's red hot, and you just quickly run it across your PETG prints, and the strings just disappear.
Oh,
like
very
you burn
cool.
through spiders' webs.
Huh. How close do you have to get to it? I mean, not to mar up your finish.
No, I mean, so the Sub-Zero mask actually had some on the inside of it. Okay. So I mean, I can get my camera about like that far away from it.
It gets hot enough and it just melts it off.
You'll see the flame coming out of the tip, and it's just like, okay, I don't want to burn a hole through this, but this is a good $35 tool. I've used it to solder twice. It heats up super fast. It's kind of cool because it's a cordless soldering station, kind of like what Adam Savage built, but with butane instead of batteries.
I like it. I like it. Yeah, I don't have a cordless one. The only one I've got is my, my wired one. I've got two different wired ones. But anyway, someone asked what was in my cup. Well, I've just got coffee, but it's good coffee, and I'm using my my Earth 2019 mug. So
this is bullet bourbon.
See, he's got bourbon. I'm usually doing beer during these. If anyone was unaware, but it's coffee tonight. I'm trying to cut back in these times at home all the time.
Yeah, I cut back when I run out. Then I'm like, oh, and then my girl's like, hey, I was thinking that I wanted something to drink tonight. And I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'm going to the store.
There's only two stores you've got to frequent. It's the grocery store and the liquor store, right?
Oh God, grocery store.
All right, we digress from the topic at hand. We got a couple of people here. We got Eccentric Nut here that likes the PETG for the win, and we've got Corey Mack who says he loves his PETG.
Yes.
So hey, look, we are streaming live on Facebook because we got some Facebook comments here. So Michael, thanks for joining us. See, he knew it was good. He knew that the stuff you were drinking was top shelf, right?
If you have a cup like this, I mean, why waste it on water?
Right? No, and I think if people are, some of our usuals here, notice I'm usually drinking out of one of my Renaissance Festival mugs.
Oh, there's a great Ohio Renaissance Fair here in Ohio.
Yes. I haven't been there, but I've seen videos of that one. So
it's fantastic.
We've got a good one here in Georgia, and again,
I'm going to finish a Dark Souls cosplay just for Ren Fair. Just for Ren Fair.
See, we got here Thomas, who has also never been successful with PETG. So, as someone who was coming from that same place of never being successful with PETG, you basically treat it like you do PLA, but PLA that's a lot more pain in the ass to kind of tame. And then I sat there and I just did the same thing, one test print after the next test print. And
the best test print though are those temperature towers.
You like those to figure out just right, because you'll stop stringing at the right height, right?
Yep, you can stop your stringing. You can test fans, which I don't use active cooling fans on my nozzle for PETG prints. When you do, they can actually become brittle.
Right.
And I always start on the high end. So if it says like, oh, you can print this between 220 and 240, I start at 240 and start watching the layers from there. Okay. And just start dropping the temperature as I need. Because, I mean, it doesn't need to be that hot. You can actually print PETG around 215, 220. But again, it's going to be brittle. But the temperature towers really help with knowing stringing and making sure you have the proper layer adhesion, because PETG likes to stick to itself, so you don't want to cool it too quick.
Just find out where it breaks.
Yep. Yeah. Like, okay, this is a bad temperature.
I gotcha. So I know you're kind of an advocate, if I remember correctly, of like one particular brand of PETG, right? Do you stick with your one brand? Because again, why are you going to tune in another brand? I mean, I've got like 2 or 3 brands going, and you have to start over almost when you switch brands. And it's obviously it's less forgiving than PLA already. So why are you going to start over? So what's your go-to brand there? Sunlu. There it is.
Sunlu PETG.
All right.
Also, too, with the digital caliper, I found it to be the most accurate Chinese filament that I've used other than Saint Smart. I like Saint Smart stuff, but it's a little more pricier than Sunload.
Okay.
So in the US, the Sunload is about $20.99, I think, on Amazon, and the Saint Smart's about $30 a roll. So it's almost $10 more. And I mean, blow for blow, I can't really, justify the extra $10 for that. So I just stick with what I know. Yeah,
I don't blame you. And I've heard good stuff about the Sunlu and the Saint Smart. I've done Saint Smart TPU, and I was really happy with the TPU.
I might have to talk to you about that because I bought some. I have a roll sitting down here I wanted to try out.
Do you have the extruder to be able to do it?
I have. So all my machines are direct drive.
Okay, so yes, yes, you do.
My CR10s are running Bondtech V6s. My Formbot Raptor 2 is running a Bondtech V6. My CR10S4 Titan Arrow, and my Ender 3 is a Titan Arrow.
Okay.
I do not like Bowden.
So while we're talking about it, then, what do you think about the Titan versus the Bondtech? What's your preference, or do you have one?
I bounce back and forth because I'll have an issue with one, and then I'll be like, "This extruder sucks," in the moment of just being mad that it's failed in some way, shape, or form. But honestly, they're both kind of the same. The Titan is a little bit more of a pain in the ass when something happens and you have to take it apart, because there's so many parts inside that clamshell of that, that heat sink in the back that the extruder motor itself connects to.
Right.
Where it's just like, if you got a clog or something like that, it's like, you're taking the whole carriage apart essentially to work on that. Whereas with the Bondtech, it's 3 screws, you pull it out. And I mean, you have your 3-to-1 reduced gear and then your dual drive hob gear basically. And that's all that's inside. So it's a lot easier to work with.
Yeah, on the custom printer that I've been working on for far too long without finishing, I went with the Bondtech with the V6, and I was really happy with it. It just worked, right? I mean, they give you the numbers, and it does what it's supposed to.
Yeah, and
I was always real happy with that.
I find the Bondtech chews through older filament easier than the Titans do. The Titan, I find, even when I tension it all the way down, it'll skip a little bit. But with the Bondtech's just like, I'm shredding through this, dude. We're printing this thing. I don't care how old this filament is. We're getting through it.
Let's see what we got here. We got Modbot has joined us. I had Modbot on here last week with me, and he said he likes it for functional parts. I agree. The only time I don't use it for functional parts is if I need them a little stiffer, because I find the PETG's got a little bit more give to it than PLA.
Well, for me, the way I look at it too is from a cosplay standpoint.
Oh, sure.
Like, you might drop this at some point in time,
right?
And I've like thrown helmets like across my backyard and stuff like that, and they've landed. Nothing's happened to them.
Right.
PLA, I feel like it would crack.
It'll crack. Yeah.
It'll explode. Something bad will happen.
I mean, there's different levels. I mean, if you use printing with like a PLA plus, you might get away with it, depending on the brand, but you're going to pay a lot more for that stuff. Yeah. Let's see. I wanted to comment on this one. So he was talking about using fan at 50% for cleaner overhangs. I've got all of mine printing with 20% fan, and that again was just to clean them up a little bit. And one thing I know in Cura, they have some in their experimental settings portion. You can like change the fan, if I remember correctly. They have an experimental setting that will actually turn the fan up and down based upon overhangs. And so you might want to try that if you haven't tried that yet.
You can do the bridging like that too. You can over fan speeds and simplify 3D with bridging. Just started messing with Prusa Slicer 2.0 or .1 or whatever version it's on. I've been testing it on my Ender, and it runs like a dream. The supports kind of suck because I need to get them dialed in. And other than that, I really like the way that the Prusa Slicer software
have not switched my workflow yet. I did install it because I was having some problems the other day with I didn't know if it was Cure or if it was something else, but I did install it. But I had not spent time watching videos on it or anything, and I was kind of like, what the hell? When you first get that new interface in front of you and things aren't where you expect, and you can't even find some of the settings.
Weird, too.
Yeah.
You look at the top bar, you're like, what? And you got to hover and wait for it to tell you what it is. Yeah, it's something else.
I'm curious on this one. So I'm running Micro Swiss on both of my Ender 5s, both my Ender 5 and my Ender 5 Plus. I love them. I reviewed. They sent me one for review that I did on my regular Ender 5, and it just worked the way they said it was going to, and it's been working ever since. I'm printing PETG on it right now. And then one of the things I like most about an all metal hot end is I don't have to worry about switching nozzles. So when I switch nozzles, I can pull it off, put it back on. I tighten it back metal to metal, and I don't have to worry about that PTFE tube. And I change nozzles a reasonable amount. I will go, 0.4, 0.6, 0.8 quite often, if nothing else, just to test something.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. Do you use all metal, or are you still running stock hot? Well, you already said you changed your extruders.
All metal.
All metal. But you're using V6s though, right?
Yep. Yeah. What Slice Engineers the new
Mosquito derivative?
Yeah, whatever their new one is. I'm waiting for that.
I'm sure someone in the chat will tell us. That's the one that did the Kickstarter for.
Yep. Yeah, I'm waiting for that one.
So I'm curious why Thomas. You can put this in the chat, Thomas, and we'll get back to it. I'm curious why you gave up on your Micro Swiss, because like I said, I'm running it on 2 printers without any problems. What's that? Copperhead. There you go.
Yeah.
3D Salutech. I had some of that, and my results were varied. Like, I'd have one good print that did well, and then I'd have another print that didn't turn out the way I expected it.
Loved their PLA when I used PLA a lot. I never had a problem at the 3D Salutech PLA, but I've never used their PETG.
Let's see. We got a general question here. I'll go ahead and answer. So thanks, JC, for the compliment. I appreciate it. What recommended for great bed leveling in the very beginning? I have an Ender or a 5 Plus. Huh? Oh, Ender 5 Plus. Well, the Ender 5 Plus has auto leveling, and I pretty much do things by the book, and I think I showed this in my videos. So you go through the steps. You first set your Z offset. Then you level the bed manually, and then you use the auto leveling, and that works for me. Now, I've had some people complain that the first X number of prints that they print, they find that it changes, that Z offset's changing every time. That's the printer working itself in, at least from my experience. Like, all that heating and cooling, the springs are new, the bed is new. I do have to adjust it, and so I think it takes, I don't know, depending on how much you're printing. I mean, I think you can have hours and hours of printing in before you really get your printer to where you can just, leave it and hope it all turns out the way it's supposed to.
Yep. I agree.
Yeah. So I think that's the trick. If you're finding you're having to adjust it like every print, that's normal in the beginning. Don't let that discourage you.
Or go to Thingiverse and get those the bed leveling tests.
Yeah.
That's another one that shows you, your variation in your bed. I mean, because you could do like the Octoprint plug-in and get like the live bed graph or whatever.
But and if you can visualize it in your head, the Ender 5 Plus does show on the display what your offsets are across the bed, and so you can use that if you can visualize it.
Oh.
Let me see here. I was saying an easy way to melt. I'm not going to be able to read all of these, JC. If you want to hit me up on instant message or something, look at me still calling instant messenger. Direct message somewhere. Let me know. I'm not going to be able to read all these. Sorry. I may get back to him later.
He still has AIM, guys.
I still have AOL Instant Messenger. I can tell you what my account name was. Because, we lived with that for a long time, let's be honest.
Yeah, we did.
And it was quite good. I'm going to skip down to the end here. We're going to see what's going on. Same problem. Let's see. We got other stuff. So let's get back to some questions, and then we'll jump back into the chat later. Are you doing commissions? Are you doing it all for yourself? Is this for fun or profit or both?
90% fun, 10% profit.
So you've taken a few commissions.
Yeah, I do commissions. It's hard for me sometimes because a lot of times I need to make something first, test out paints, finishing techniques, blah, 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 before I'll go, okay, guys, I'm selling this. Or if somebody were to ask me to make them something, I would need to make it kind of for myself first to see how I would end up finishing that product to make sure that I can get the best product that I can produce to whoever's buying it.
No, and I completely get where you're coming from. Since I have taken a few commissions myself in the past, I find that I'm way too picky on myself.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know if the guy's watching right now, so I'm not going to call him out. But the guy hit me up on Facebook and said, "Can you print this thing for me?" And it was just this little box. Just a functional piece that's going to go and catch some materials off of one of his, I believe it was a metalworking machine of some sort. And I have to be honest with you, I spent a whole day printing this little box that I, charged very little to print because I was just like, someone's paying me to do this. And, if I was printing it for myself, it was functional. I wouldn't have cared what it looked like.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if it came out and it held stuff, then that would have been good enough. But when someone pays you to do something, you feel a lot of pride in that, and so you care about how that turns out. And I'm way more picky when I do something for someone else.
Oh, yeah. Like super critical. And I know how critical I am on myself with just the stuff that I do. So it's just like, you're going to have to bear with me, man. This is going to take a while. It's not going to be a month process. It might be a little longer, but I'll get it to you. I promise.
Oh yeah, and I've made 3 Arrow season 1 and 2 bows. That's been my big prop that I've sold a couple of different ones to people, and at least that was one of those that I built my own first.
Yeah.
And then I knew I could do it, and so from there it was just finding the time to build more.
Yep. Yeah, so, I did Yuri from 3D Workbench. I made myself a Cayde-6 helmet, and I had a couple people asked for those, and I'd already done it. So I was like, yeah, I can do this.
That's when you feel better about it. And then it's just a matter of how much are you going to charge for it. I mean, because that's for me, since I don't do this full time, I have a day job just like most people. But, to trying to figure out how much you're going to charge for it's a real issue. Yeah. At least it is for me, because I always undercharge and then spend twice as long as I thought it would take.
Yep. I mean, I don't know. It's just one of those things. I mean, like I said, the attention to detail is worth it in the end, because I want somebody to be able to enjoy something the same way that I would, looking at it on my shelf or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, and so I've always wanted to get to the point where I could produce them and then put them out for sale once they were done.
Yep.
Because if they were done, then I would know what to charge for them, and I would know the quality that I'm already have produced and can charge accordingly.
Yeah, I'm actually working on a large, kind of like a large scale thing, item that I'm mass producing for sale.
Very cool.
Not mass producing, but on a smaller scale, but something that I've been testing out, and I kind of know what direction I want to take it before I put it out to the public.
Uncle Jesse just recently did a video about profiting from 3D printing and stuff like that. And I think a lot of the stuff he had to say in his video was spot on. And, he's a guy that has made money making a widget to sell on Etsy. Yep. But he's also a guy that will not, I've heard him say before that he won't take commissions for like cosplay, because it's like, for him, that takes kind of the fun away from it. Or, he knows what it takes to produce it.
Yeah, I mean, and some of the stuff that I've turned down is just like, man, the price that I'm going to charge you to make this one-off thing, this is on Etsy already, and I can recommend you to people that I know who have made these things, and that they are going to come to you in amazing quality, and you're going to pay less. And I have no problem telling people that, like, hey, this guy will make, he already has this made, and it's $100 cheaper than what I'm going to charge you. So you should go talk to him. Tell him that I sent you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, and But while we're on the subject, I mean, Punish Props is a terrific channel. If you're thinking about doing any 3D printed props or foam smithing, they're absolutely the top notch foam smithers out there. But Punish Props not recently, this was a couple of years ago at this point, they did a video about not undercharging for your work and making sure that people know that this is a craft and it takes time and that people have to pay for that time and energy and the real pros out there are unapologetic about how much they charge because if you look at someone like one of the top guys in the field, Volpin Props, I mean he's going to charge what it's going to cost.
Oh yeah, I mean, and that also comes when that's your full time job as well. So I mean, I don't ever want to undercut or sell myself short. I mean, sometimes even I'll tell my girl like the prices of something. She'll go, "You're in the garage working on that thing for 2 months straight, and you're going to charge them how much?"
Right.
And
yes.
Should I charge them more? I mean, it just comes with when that's not your full time job. Now,
and I think that's part of being pro is knowing what to charge because you know what it's going to take.
Yeah, I think that I would like to just, if I were to do this full time, I think I would like to do more like Lightning Cosplay does, where they have, contracts with Bethesda and other companies will go up and say like, "Hey, we're working on this Skyrim thing. We need you to make this helmet or a full armor set or whatever." And they make a video based off of that and then give that to the people more so than just, doing hand-to-hand transactions over commissions.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there's always that back dream of it being your full-time gig and you eventually taking it to that level. But I think, I talk to, it's the same with any of these side jobs, right? YouTube or whatever you're into. I mean, making that thing that you're passionate about your full-time job's a real challenge.
Oh yeah, always.
Particularly, hey, let's be honest. Particularly for any of us in the United States without healthcare, right? I comment to my wife on that all the time. Like, if it wasn't for the insurance, if I didn't have to stay employed by someone else to keep my insurance, then doing that kind of go it on your own would be a lot more safe.
Well, yeah, because when you work at some company that has 1,000 people all paying into the same insurance,
right?
That $140 a month becomes $1,400 a month for you.
Right.
Out of pocket. It's insane. So I totally understand it from that aspect as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we've talked about, we both have families and you got to support them somehow.
Oh, yeah.
And part of it's the insurance because it doesn't come cheap.
No.
So I know you on your various social medias, particularly Instagram, because this guy has well over 1,000 followers now on Instagram. What you post a lot of different things. You do armor, you do weapons. Do you have a preference? Do you prefer to make armor or weapons or just whatever strikes your fancy at that particular time?
Kind of whatever strikes my fancy. So the latest post was the pistol from Halo, the M6C. It's actually 100% printed on my Elegoo Mars.
Is that static or does it have any moving parts?
It's static. It could be moving, but the slide could move, but I made it static. The trigger could move, but I made it static.
That's something you designed, or can people download that model?
You can. I got this one from Colin. He's a modeler on the 405. He does a lot of Halo props. Okay. So this one was kind of I want to see what the limitations are of the Mars as far as build volume goes. Once it was tough, especially to get the whole lower receiver part onto the Mars, which is the handle and everything back here minus the front. It's all been filled, so you can't see any seam lines. But this was,
Are you saying you printed that on the Mars? Okay. Yeah, I see that. I mean, because anything narrow prints really good on those small form factor resin printers.
Yep. So this was just something that kind of I was messing around with.
Mm-hmm.
And I really wasn't going to do anything minus just like factory kind of paint job.
Right.
And, you know, we're kind of in quarantine or whatever. So I was like, oh, I'm going to beat the hell out of it with weathering and try out a couple of new techniques on just trying to make metallic paint on a plastic piece look more realistic.
No,
So,
I completely, you know, and I'm really into those quick projects. I mean, do it while you have a passion for it and while you're feeling it. And then, you know, that's how you stay motivated to finish up something instead of it ending up on the shelf.
That's how I stay motivated to do the big stuff, because then it's like the ideas are flowing and everything like that. And I don't know. I don't really have a preference on weapons or armor or anything like that. I like painting more. Painting everything is my passion behind all of this. So in my mind, I try to get all the post-process work done, the sanding and filling and sanding and spot puttying and all that crap out of the way, get something as good as I possibly can get it, buttery smooth, so I can figure out how I want to start painting the project after that.
Yeah, I completely, and I think everyone's that way. I mean, particularly if you're using 3D printing for your props, you know that there's a lot of post-processing. There can be less or more depending on how good your printers are or what layer height you're doing. And I think, you know, as you were showing, as you go more and more resin, I think there'll be less post-processing.
There is resin prints you'll still see a little bit of like some layering or like some odd rings in your print. I usually just take 120 grit sandpaper on it and just go over it real lightly, or a sanding block that's 120, and just go over the whole thing real lightly, and then clean it off, use some degreaser, and hit it with filler primer from there.
Okay.
Usually like a layer of filler primer, one small layer, not like a real wet layer like you'd used on like a big armor piece or anything like that, is good enough. And then I start wet sanding around 400 grit up to 1,000 grit, and then we're ready to go for base coat.
So you'll go straight wet sand on that finishing primer, on that filler primer. Okay.
Yeah.
What brand do you use? Is it just the regular Rust-Oleum that most people use?
No. So if I'm doing rattle can, I use Duplicolor's 2-in-1.
Okay.
And if I'm using my HVLP setup, I use a 4 or a 2K primer. Okay.
Yes. Yep.
Which is automotive grade. You have to mix all that stuff, but that stuff is like no other. And I usually only use that on bigger stuff. So if I'm doing like a big chest armor or something like that, that'll get the automotive 2K primer. I don't use that on smaller props.
Right. No, I guess the prep's probably not worth the time.
Not only that, the cost of it. I mean, you know, a gallon of that stuff's like $150 for the primer and the activator.
Right. Yeah.
You can stretch it, but it's expensive.
That's one thing I have not busted out is airbrushing yet. So I have not bought that first kit. It's been on the list. I think it's going to be one of those things I finally delve into when I get some of the printers and everything that I've got to review off the table. And once that stuff's kind of, you know, taken care of and I have more time to devote to learning something new, I'll grab one finally.
There is a learning curve for sure.
Oh, yeah. I've seen too many people watch too many videos. I know how that goes. Yeah. Let me see. I got a question here from JC Productions. Let's see what he's got. Don't know if you've answered this. What is the transparency you use for PPE? And thank you for answering the other question. Sure. Let me see. Let me tell you the right answer. So I am not doing the transparency. Yeah. So I know Joel, 3D printing nerd, said that he was using just transparency film that you can buy at the office supply store. Yep. I was actually, when I first started doing the PPE, I found a local well, actually the first ones I sent off to Repcord, who was doing all the ones in California. He had the face shields already, so I didn't worry about it. And I was just sending my first parts off to him to take care of. Since then, I found a local maker space that is cutting them. They had a big donation of the plastic sheeting, so I'm letting them handle those. And then recently, there was a company, and I'm going to be really bad and not remember who the company was. Let me see if I can find it here. If not, it's not a big deal because I think he just ended the free shields. But I really wanted to give the company credit. Anyway, I'm not going to find it because I don't want to take up too much of the screen time here. Anyway, there was a company. Oh, you know who it was? It was. I'm going to start typing this in here while I'm talking about it. Greengate 3D was giving away face shields. Greengate 3D, he posted this on Twitter one day that they had a very large donation of plastic and they had cut these things down and they were giving away sets of 1,000 face shields. And all you had to do was pay for shipping. And so shipping's not cheap on these things. I think I'm going to end up paying like $50 for shipping. But then I can produce them in-house and provide them to whoever I need to and don't have to, I still like my local makerspace. They're still doing good work there. But it's kind of nice to be able to just have them all assembled. So look for local plastic companies that can do it. I think they were using, what's that?
Sign shops.
Yeah, sign shops, particularly if they can cut them for you, because you can go on the Prusa website and go and get the pattern and send that over. Find out if they'll donate some sheets. Prusa has all the information on which plastics to use. I think it's almost always PETG. Go to Prusa's website, and I'm happy to interrupt the stream with this because this is important stuff we're doing.
Oh, wow.
So thanks for asking the question, JC. So yeah, JC already has a Glowforge, so he just needs the plastic. So that answers your, you have the tool. So all you need to do, go hit up some sign shots, look locally on Google for any plastics companies that sell plastic sheeting. Tell them what you're doing and that you're not charging for these things. If you're not charging for these things, I know some companies are, and that's fine. But, particularly if you're donating your products to the local community, tell them what you're doing and they'll probably, if not cut you a deal, just give you some to get you going.
Yeah. The reason I recommended sign shops though, because they use they cut down a lot of stuff. So they have scrap that they recycling or throwing away. So a lot of the times you can go there and just get their scrap or their trash, basically. They'll just say, hey, yeah, you want to come pick it up, It'll be in this blue bin out back.
Yeah. I almost used this to justify me buying a Glowforge, but I looked at how much they were and I looked at which Glowforge I wanted and decided I wasn't going to do it yet. Because that's definitely high on my list of things I need is a Glowforge or something like it. I was looking at the alternatives that are a little bit cheaper.
Yeah, some laser cutter would be nice.
Agreed. I am looking forward to, I was just talking about this printer I'm doing. So I'm going to have this CNC and laser etcher, and that'll be something. To do some etchings and some stuff. I know that there are, particularly if you're making little signs or if you want to have a clear piece of plastic that you want to light from the bottom or from the top or from the sides and have that, image in it. Having that CNC etcher is really nice.
Yeah, my buddy has one of the snap makers, and he loves that thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this machine I'm doing is similar to a snap maker.
Like the stuff like this, I don't know if you can see it, it might be too grainy, but like the LED pattern, that dot pattern, kind of diffuse the LED. That's kind of like my number one reason for wanting something like that. It's like, I can put these patterns on it and go crazy.
This one's just got the switchable head where you can just swap out the print head for a CNC head. And I'm looking forward to trying that. To be honest, I focused on the 3D printer first, and so I haven't even tested out the CNC portion of it yet. From everything I saw from their videos and from other people that have used it, it seems once you learn how to use it, it'll seem like it'll do the job. It's a pretty small print bed, but again, if you're using it for accents, if you're using it for small pieces of cosplay like a mask or a eyepiece or something like you were showing, I think it'd work good.
Yep, be great for Iron Man eyes.
There you go. Although I bought a box of those, I need to sell those. Another sidetrack. Yeah, I'm still working on an Iron Man costume, and so I've been an Iron Man hoarder, where I've got boxes of Iron Man-esh pieces.
Parts.
Yeah, parts. Looking for the best part or looking for things that I want to try. And at one point in time, I couldn't find those damn LEDs that you were showing anywhere.
Yeah,
but there was someone that had
a ton of them off of Adafruit.
Yeah. And so Adafruit was out at the time I was looking, and I'm like, I don't know if they're getting the right size in. And I ended up buying. I found on Amazon someone you had to buy them by the case, and so I've got like a case of these things. But they run off of 3.3 volts. You can use them for all sorts of things.
Yep.
Let's see. I got the Pro. Oh, see, JC got the Pro version of the Glowforge. So that's the one I wanted.
We spent the money.
I'm guessing JC Productions has some sort of company need for it.
Yeah.
Let's assume that. Let me see what else we got here. We've covered armor. We've covered weapons. What's been your favorite piece that you've put together? Do you have a baby that is better than the rest?
I think my Landfall ODST again is still my baby because there aren't any except for the ones that Weta Digital has for the short that they did.
Is that on your Instagram page somewhere? I'm sure it is. I was going to try to bring up. Do you have it? Do you have it with you, or is it still?
It's in storage because we're moving.
I was going to try to bring it up here because I can do a screen share, and I'd love for people to see what we're Landfall ODST. I wonder if it's going to show up on me. That's the full suit of armor?
Yep.
Okay.
Should be September.
I think this is it.
Right next to the golden mask.
Let's see. There it is. All right, I'm going to bring it up here. Let's do a little screen share so people can see what, and you can, and maybe talk about it a little bit. Application window. Let's do that. Share. There we go. Is that it?
Yeah, that's her.
Okay, so talk us through a little bit about what all went through this. I mean, you spend as much or as little time going through it in terms of like, how much of it's printed, how much of it's soft goods. Is there any of it that's something other than 3D printed?
Yeah, so below the chest plate, there's that center abdominal piece. To the left and right of that are the ab plates, and those are both foam and covered in fabric. The left and right hand side of the breastplate is foam, and the shoulder straps are foam, upholstery foam and fabric.
Okay.
Other than the undersuit and the gloves and the boots, everything else is 3D printed.
There we go. So the gun is also 3D printed?
Yeah.
Isn't that the best part of cosplaying right there, when you see the kid that wants to take the picture with you?
Oh, yeah. Tiny Chief, my guy. And that's my buddy as Master Chief.
Very cool. I was going to go through these. There we go. So how tall are you? Because you're towering over everyone here.
So I'm 6'7".
So everything you download, you have to size up.
Oh yeah.
Now, are you using something like ArmorSmith, or are you doing it manually?
I do both.
Okay. So if people aren't familiar, let me explain that real quick. There's a piece of software called ArmorSmith, and it lets you go in and put all of your measurements into the software, and then it makes a 3D model of you that you can then import models to and put them on you to see how they're going to fit. Yep. And it's pretty accurate. In fact, one of my favorite comments was I saw this recently on their message boards of someone commenting of how ArmorSmith made them fat, and that was a funny comment. But go ahead. What were you saying about how you size your armor?
I do manual and I do armor smith, because sometimes I find that armor smith doesn't work depending on how a model was made. Some people, I call it fat backing. I don't know what other people call it, but like on the backside of a model, like a forearm bracer or something like that, instead of it being contoured, it'll have like a void that is kind of like filled in almost, that if you leave, I mean, it's not going to the constraints are completely off. The sizing is completely off. So you'll need to make some compensation for that outside of armor smith.
Right.
So I use calipers, fabric measuring tapes and things like that, and just kind of manipulate profiles in my slicer to see what'll work. I've also been using Scandi Pro. It's a 3D scanner program for the iPhone.
Yeah.
I think the iPhone X and
I think Uncle Jesse covered that in a video.
Yeah. So I've scanned like my forearm and like my head. It's kind of hard to do. The forearm was really hard to get. I probably had to do like 40 tries to get a good take of that. But I've used that a lot too, and I've cleaned the model up for that in Blender, and then I'll throw that into my slicer, and then kind of I can attach to or just move parts around to see how it needs to be scaled, either in Simplified 3D or in Mesh Mixer.
Okay. So these are you doing these with STLs mainly, or are you getting some other types of files from people?
STLs, I mean, sometimes you'll get an object or a 3MF, but mainly STL files.
Okay. You say you're doing cons. What con was that picture we were looking at there from?
That was Cincinnati Comic Expo.
Okay. Cool. I was just going through your Instagram feed. I guess I could share it with other people. Let's do that while I'm going through it. You can point out anything of particular interest here while we're going through it, because I'm already a little bit down the ways. So there's work on the helmet. Yep. Using all automotive paint on that thing, or?
That was Alclad. So the whole Alclad system, it was gloss black, and then the weathering on the helmet was actually done with a Dremel. So I tacked it with a Dremel before I put the base black on, and then once the base black was cleared, I covered it in I think it was airframe aluminum, and then masked those areas off. And then the darker portion is actually Alclad's gunmetal, and the red is some candy concentrate. I can't remember the brand offhand.
Looks really, really good. Now, do you find that do you enjoy the damaging part of these great prints that you have, or do you?
Yeah,
or is it painful? Is it painful?
No, I love it. I'm working on Doom Slayer from Doom 2016. I was gonna do the turtle version, but I need a muscle suit, and I'm not well versed in it yet. So
that's where this is coming from, right here, the Doom Slayer.
Yeah. So I can't wait.
That's the shotgun from the game, right?
Yep.
Okay.
I actually can't wait to destroy this suit of armor.
See, some people find, that they. I mean, personally, I like a good, clean piece of armor to look shiny.
Yeah.
But are you fresh off the show floor, or have you seen some action? That's always the question, right?
He's killing demons on Mars and going to hell and coming back, man. I mean, he's not going to be fresh.
No, exactly. Which is always the right difference between like Iron Man. All right, Iron Man, you can go shiny because something about his suit, unless it's at the end of the movie, the suit's flawless.
Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely got a brand new Lambo off the lot every time. I'm actually working on a Mark 47 arm, the left arm.
Okay.
I found an incredible modeler that made one, and I was like, I'm going to print this one day. So I've been working on that, and I just picked up some of the Imperial Surface Alumiluster, which is like the chrome that is Beskar steel for the Mandalorian helmets and the armor.
That stuff's expensive. I looked up that paint.
Let me tell you something. So I'm using it for the chrome parts of the 47 Iron Man arm, because the 47 is a little bit more chromy than the 46, a little less red, a little less gold, but I'm going to test it out on that.
JC had one more question. Do I have a company you're talking about for the transparency? JC, the only thing I can tell you right now, just to keep moving, is I will put it in as a comment. So after this stream is over, if you'll go to the YouTube page, probably the page you're on right now, look for a comment, and I will link to his Twitter or something so you can get to it. Like I said, I think that's Green Gate is the ones that are doing that. Here it is. Yeah, let me go and tell you. I actually did still have it up here. It is greengate3d.com. And I originally contacted, his name's Richard. I originally contacted him through the Greengate 3D Twitter account. So you can hit him up there. Let's see. Hey, we got the Edge of Tech joining us. Hey, Jim, how you doing?
Welcome back.
Let's see. While we're talking about it, someone just brought up lithophanes. Have you done any lithophanes? I know that doesn't have anything to do with cosplay or props, but I've printed a couple.
I haven't. I've wanted to. Eventually, I think that I will. Once we move to the new house and I get working on like my showcase display of all awesomeness, I'll probably have to throw a couple of lithophanes in there.
Yeah, I swear to God, some days I have forgotten more about 3D printing than I know anymore, particularly when dealing with all these extremely talented companies that are producing models these days, because there's a great company, I think they're UK-based, that was producing the lithophanes where you can download them not pre-sliced, but already in STL form. Yep. And I downloaded one of theirs and printed it using their settings, and it's I think it's a Breath of the Wild scene. And it's absolutely gorgeous using their settings. And like I said, I haven't printed much. I actually haven't made one myself. I've only done some of those pre-done STLs that have turned out really, really good.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of the websites where you can throw an image in there and upload it. And I was like, oh, this is cool. I'll save this for a rainy day. Now I have to Google it again to find out what website it even was.
Do you have while we're talking about something like a lithophane, because it's kind of in that realm, do you have a favorite smaller format printer? I know you got a lot of large format printers. What do you think?
My favorite small format is my Ender.
I know you said you had an Ender 3 that you've done some mods to.
That thing, it's got a tight narrow, direct drive, BL touch, a real Meanwell 24-volt power supply, and an SKR Mini E3 version 1.2 with the silent steppers, sensorless homing, stealth chop, all that great sexiness that you want. The only thing that I need to do, and I don't know why I haven't done it yet, is filament run out, probably because it's such a small printer that I don't.
Yeah, it'd be hard to go through a roll on that one, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't print, massive things. Like I have it sitting down here now, kicking off those ear guards for healthcare workers.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's a workhorse. I mean, anything I throw at it, it just takes and doesn't stop.
So at this point, I'm going to do a little bit of a plug. If you guys are watching on YouTube, go ahead and hit like on the video, because that seems to bring in more people. The more, you know how the algorithm works. Hit like if you haven't done that on the video. If you're watching on Facebook, please leave a reaction there, preferably one of the good ones, although I don't care if you laugh at me, however you want to do it. Because at this point, we are at the hour mark, which means that we will go up to half an hour more, but that just depends on who's watching and who's asking questions. So if you want to get more people in here, go ahead and hit like. And if you're on social media, go ahead and hit share and try to get more people in here, because we're on your time now.
Yeah, Edge of Tech, thank you.
Yeah, always. So Island Engineer just said he got his Ender 5 Plus in, and thanks to my channel and Edge of Tech, he's doing some mods.
I know I've asked a few questions about the Ender 5 Plus.
I know. Hey,
I'm waiting to buy one that keeps selling out.
They do, and I've noticed that. And I'm honestly ready for a second generation Ender 5 Plus because it's so much of the work that I've put into it, and other channels like Jim's has put into it. I think that they could make a V2 of that printer that was just really kick ass, even more than the original. We all know that it's got some issues, but still one of my favorite printers if you're a modder. Like, it's just such a great format, such a large format printer to be so cheap. Yeah, I mean, and it's so easy to add stuff to it. I mean, it's a big box, but it's really rigid. And I'm a person, I really like the electronics box. There you go. More PPE coming off the plate. I've got a stack over here I need to clean up with a razor blade.
Hey, shameless. I'm not sponsored by them in any way, shape, or form, but Wham Bam, their flex sheets in this PEX is amazing.
I swear we've talked about flex sheets almost every episode since I've been doing this now because it's just such
I got one on my S4, and I like, because it's so big, that 400 by 400 bed, I literally just lift the front of whatever's on there. You just hear this big noise, this massive noise, and then all of a sudden it's just like, oh, look, this humongous helmet just came off effortlessly. I love them. I love these things. They're sweet.
Let's see who we've got here. Let's see. Brian Vines is in the house. He's been here for a while, though, so I appreciate you hanging out with us, Brian, as always. Brian was here a couple of weeks ago, co-hosting. We were doing a Q&A, helping people out.
Nice. I watched Brian on YouTube.
What's that?
I said I watched Brian on YouTube.
Yeah, he just did a review I just watched. It was really good. With a printer I hadn't heard about. So
the Sunlu S8?
Yeah.
I just watched that yesterday.
So Brian, we're watching your channel. So.
Well, I watched it because I buy Sunlu filaments. So I was like, wait, somebody did a review on their printer? Sweet. And I was like, oh, it's Brian. I'm definitely going to check it out.
And I didn't even know about it, and it was a larger format, and it was like 300. So that was
like
nice.
Their CR10 Pro, S Pro kind of thing.
Let's see. Thomas here. E5 Plus should be a good prop machine due to the volume. So I brought this out for the past couple of weeks. So this was printed in one piece on the E5 Plus. This is pretty much max build height here. Tilted a little bit. Because, I mean, seriously, this is 400 millimeters high.
I expect you to go grocery shopping in that soon.
Oh, I can't wait. Hey, I am wearing the Sub-Zero mask out. So that Sub-Zero mask, they went to the USPS with me yesterday. I loved it. I was surprised I didn't get any comments. I think people just looked at me funny. But yes, I don't know what this would do. I probably wouldn't make it long in the store. But, the only thing about this, I love the look of it, but the eyes don't really go straight. And so there'd be a lot of this. But hey, I did decide to do a video on this, so I am filming all of the work that I'm doing on it, and I'm going to put together a compilation because this is one of the first projects I'm actually going to do leather working on as well.
That'll be exciting.
So I'm going to do the leather work to do all the strapping and everything, and it's the first time I've done all of that. But going back to Punish Props, they had some excellent tutorials on how to do those leather straps, and so I picked up some tools, and that is on the short list.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to it. I've always wanted to do leather working. That's been on my short list for a long time. Let's see. Plague Doctor Side Eye. Yeah. Thanks, Brian. See, Brian also comes with the puns, which I always appreciate it.
I see that.
Jim's got a crash, so I don't blame you, man. Have a good evening. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Jim.
As always. Let's see what else we got. So, have you finished any other complete suits of armor to mention other than that set that we just looked at?
No, I kind of helped guide my buddy on his Master Chief build. He's working on something else that we're going to kind of go back and forth once I get moved, because the new house has a lot more space, and I'll be able to build up the studio and the workspace a little bit more like how I want. So I've just been printing. So I've been working on Doom, just Doom. That's all I've been doing. Stuff, massive shotguns and hulking armor. But like I said, that was my Dragon Con 2020 project, which if that gets pushed back, it's cool. Then I'll just start hammering away on something else as well.
Yeah, my Dragon Con armor was supposed to be the Iron Man, but there's part of me going, oh, I didn't finish, but at least there's no Dragon Con.
Yep.
That terrible feeling of I didn't quite get done with my.
Yeah, I know exactly how you feel, and I've been working on this cyberpunk trauma team build too for a little bit, and it's just one of those things. It's just like it's not much to it. Everything's printed and finished. I just need the jumpsuit that they wear and some couple other small elements to tie it all together. So eventually I'll get around to finishing it up.
Yeah, I mean, Iron Man's intimidating. I think that the fact that it has to fit right, it has to fit your body right, it has to be snug almost, and the fact that if you're going with that early movie Iron Man look, it's got to be shiny and glossy, and I feel like I'm going to need to take a buffing cloth with me the whole time, and if it gets nicked, like you're going to lose.
Oh yeah. That's another thing too. I think that with weathering the crap out of my stuff, I don't even care. It's like, oh, I got bumped into. Sweet, it's actually weathered now. Somebody ran into my armor. Great.
Right, a chip matters not. That's why you put that. That's why you put down that base coat. So if it chips off, you want those top coats to chip.
That's right. You always clear your sub layer. So when I do,
that's a good tip.
Right. So when I do something I'm going to chip and weather away, and you have like metal that shows underneath, that metal layer has actually been hit with a high shine clear coat, and then I'll paint over that or masking fluid area, and then paint over that. So when I peel it away or scratch away the top coat, you still have that shiny metallic bottom underneath.
That's a good tip. I have not heard of that doing that before, but I mean, if you're doing the weathering, I get that. I just got a power chat from Gato77 there, and I do not know how much ARS 500 is, but I appreciate it. Thank you very, very much. Yeah, I was chatting with him earlier online. I was answering some DMs as I tend to do. And so I appreciate you dropping in, and thanks for the contribution. I appreciate that.
Woo.
Where are you from, by the way? I didn't ask you that earlier, so post that in the chat. Because is ARS Argentina? Are we going to guess? I don't know. Oh, look, we got people on the Googles for me. $7.57. But again, I appreciate it. It's no bother at all helping you out online. Thanks, guys. It is Argentina. There we go. So we got people all over the world. We got South America. We got a couple of people from Europe here. I know we always have our Viking representative in the chats. So appreciate it, guys.
Thomas Anderson, pull his question up about the duet.
Thomas had a duet. There we go. Let's see. Thoughts on the Duet Meister. Have you done a duet on any of your printers? Let's start with that. See, that's me.
Big TreeTech SKR fan here. I have a 1.4 turbo going in my S4 as soon as it's done printing a helmet. My Ender has one. The Raptor has some custom board, but has 2209 steppers, so it's silent and has all the nice features that I want. But the SKRs are cheap and they work.
Yeah. So I mean, so when I first started doing a lot of the modding on the Ender 5, when I was one of the only channels covering the Ender 5 at the time, there were a lot of people that, why don't you drop the money on the Maestro or whichever duet board? And you can do what you want with your money, but it was hard for me to justify dropping $200 on a $300 printer on one upgrade. And don't get me wrong, the display and the main board are the biggest upgrades you can probably do on a printer.
Yep.
But, you know, I do think that when there are now some really good 32-bit board alternatives, like you're saying, the SKRs, you've got different models of the SKRs. They've got the new one that's got all of the expansion that's very similar to a Maestro, at least in terms of feature set.
Yeah.
And so I can't see it. We've discussed this last week. I'm a software developer by trade anyway. So I don't need the sort of ease of use that the Duet boards bring to the table, which I fully appreciate. A board that you can just drop a config file on and it works.
Yep.
But playing with the firmware is fun for me, at least until I get it working, and then I leave it alone. So, you know, once you get an SKR set up in there, you've only paid, I think, who was it? Tripod's Garage just did one, and he's like, the whole setup cost him like $80, including adapters and everything else he had to do. That's a new display, that's a new board, that's new stepper drivers and everything, and he was in and out for $80. And so that's the way I like to do it. I'd rather spend a little bit of my time on it than almost twice the price on a Duet. And again, this is nothing against the Duet.
Oh no, the Duets are. I hear they're amazing. I've never used one. If I build my own custom Core XY machine, which will probably be later this year, I might consider buying a Duet Wi-Fi for it, just to see.
Yeah. So Thomas is talking about counterfeit chips on the SKR. I don't know anything about that. I have not heard of any counterfeit chips. So you'll have to link me to an article. I'm not going to comment on it in this video since I haven't read about it myself. So if you want to link to an article in the comments or post it to the actual YouTube comment section, because I don't plan on going back through this chat probably later. So if you'll post it to the comments, then I'll take a look at it because I'm not familiar with that. 2130s. Yeah, so I've got some 2130s here, and I stopped using 2130s as soon as the 2208s were out because the UART is so much easier to configure and set up. So I gave up on the 2130s. I still have, a set of them here, so I can test them, but I don't use them.
Look at Uncle Jesse. Look at these two cool dudes.
Uncle Jesse. Wow. We got the big hitter in the chats now. Hey, Jesse, I appreciate you joining us. Let's see, a lot of people getting their Ender 5s running with SKRs, BL Touch. Let's see. BL Touch. So I'll go ahead and talk about it here briefly because I know you put a BL Touch on your Ender 3.
Yep.
And I have a serious problem. I don't put any auto bed leveling on small print beds. I don't see any reason for it.
I wasn't going to. The Titan Arrow mount that I have printed on my Ender 3 had a space. I had an extra BL Touch, and I had just gotten that SKR, and I was like, why not? We'll try it out. And it's been amazing. It really has been amazing.
You like it? I mean, so what? So convince me. You don't have to convince me, but so why do you say? So my policy's always been that the point of a bed leveler is that it should compensate for the fact that on a large bed you're going to have some unevenness, you're going to have some warping, just because it's so big, even on glass. So why do you put a bed leveler on a small bed?
Well, even over time of taking a slap mat off of there, you're going to throw it out of alignment by, millimeters. It might not make that big of a difference at first, but you'll start seeing it. So I figured with the magnetic build plate that I was like, well, if I put solid bed mounts on here, throw the BL Touch on, I'll never have to touch it again. And it's kind of been that way. Since I've put the Mini E3 on, and I think I've had it on for 2 months now. Okay. After I got my Z offset set up, I literally just send prints to Octoprint via Prusa Slicer, and it starts and I walk away.
So for you, it's a long-term fix. It's something that you get use out of because you again, we talked about it earlier, that print and go experience.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, and again, I see that.
Yeah. That's kind of the thing.
And I could even see it being more useful possibly if you were doing like a print farm.
Yeah.
Because then over time you'd want those prints to not to have to tweak those prints long term.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of like my Elegoo Mars. Like, I know people just say, like, oh, I re-level my build plate after every print. I'm like, you do? I switched over to the non-FEP film on my build vats, the vats in my Mars. I just hit print and walk away. Like, I don't even wait until it hits the vat. I just pour some resin in, walk off. And my prints come out perfect every time. I don't know why, it just does. See, even Jesse says he rarely relevels his Mars too.
Yeah,
and people say that it's crazy to me.
Yeah, and one thing I've learned though, I mean, particularly from running a channel where people are often asking me like, why doesn't this work for me? Why am I having this problem? You haven't, mentioned that you had this problem. Is that I really don't second guess people though, because just because I don't get the problem and I don't see the problem doesn't mean that it doesn't exist.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I could have gotten lucky. I could have a different technique than they do to do something. People tell me like I can't get my prints to stick on glass, and I'm like, well, I do this, and every time my prints stick beautifully on glass. I have no problems. But I've been in their situation as well, where I don't know, for the first year and a half, I was trying to get it to print on glass and hadn't figured it out yet. And then it just finally, someone told me how to do it, and it finally worked for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, everything doesn't work for everybody. And that's the thing about 3D printing. Everything that I recommend or you recommend or Uncle Jesse recommends or Brian recommends might not work for this person at all. But that doesn't mean you need to give up. You just have to figure out what works for you. I mean, like, it took me forever to figure out just like manually leveling a bed back in when I bought a ANET A8 in 2016 or whatever.
Hey, that was my first printer. I think it was a lot of our first printers.
Yeah, it was painful. But once you figured it out, I was like, oh, I can level any bed. And then I got a base CR10, a single Z-screw CR10, and I had that thing up and running in no time when I got it. But, and I've gone through glass plates, the fake build tack, actual build tack, TH3Ds, build mats, their flexible plates, the Wham Bam, PEX. I mean, you name it, I've used it, and I just happen to prefer using the PEX on the Wham Bam Flex over everything right now.
So shout out to Ireland real quick, because I popped it up there.
I got.
There you go. He's set. He's ready to visit. Yeah, and that's another thing. I found that once you've been doing this long enough, and long enough is different for different people. But once you've been doing this long enough, I find that if you can print on the surface, I can probably print on it at this point.
Yeah.
Like, it may take finding the right cleaning. It may take finding the right temperature. Whatever the trick to printing on that surface is, that you've experienced enough and you've been through enough filament, you've been through enough flex plates and enough pieces of glass that you kind of know the feel of getting it right.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the definite thing. I mean, you'll notice, you can see where your nozzles and go like, oh yeah, this is going to be fine. You go, oh, I might have to drop that Z offset a little bit, or this is going to fail.
Yeah, and you also learn that there's also not one right answer. And then I think a lot of people new to the hobby, that aren't just looking to buy a tool, but people that are new to the hobby and really want to play it and learn it and that kind of thing are hoping for that answer to a question. They'll ask a question: how do I get this to stick? Since that's what we're talking about right now, how do I get it to stick? And there's not always just that the answer is glue stick. Yes, sometimes it's just glue stick.
I got some magic glue to, I mean, I don't know. I'd use all kinds of stuff.
You know, one thing I've learned, you can't show someone the right thickness. You know, how thick should my first layer be? Well, if you'll grab a sheet of paper, no, because it was like when I had that ANET A8 and they were telling you to level it using the paper method.
Yeah.
One thing that they can't explain to you is the feel, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
How do you feel the first layer? Like when it touches it, well, is it scraping it a little? Is it scraping a lot? Should I have to pull on it with both hands? No one explains what that feel is.
You can't explain the feel. You have to experience the feel.
Yes.
Some very, very zen moments we have here with these 3D printers.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, what does blue look like? To explain it to a blind person, right?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And it's, you know, some of this is very much experience. And so I always try to give everybody the benefit of the doubt when they're trying to explain to me what they're experiencing, why they can't get it to work. And all I can do is give them all the tips that I've learned or that come to mind at the time.
Yeah, I mean, like when you said the leveling with the drag of the paper, right? Mm-hmm. They say like take something the thickness of a business card. Dude, you can give me tissue paper and I'll have your first layer looking amazing right now, you know. But 4 years ago, it might have looked like crap coming out of the gate, and me sitting up there messing with the knobs underneath the bed trying to figure out like, oh, it's going down. No, I needed to go up. You know, I mean, it's all situational and it's
absolutely.
You gotta fall on your face a million times before you get it right with this hobby. It's not, you know, idiot proof.
Yep.
If you
I mean, and there are different printers.
It's almost idiot proof.
Right, and that's what I was going to say. There are different printers. There are printers for the hobbyist, and those are the Crealities. And then there are the printers that auto level for you. If you use their slicer and put their code in, it will print.
Yeah.
You know, and those are the tools. And that's kind of the difference. Is like, you know,
that's what you pay for with a Prusa. You pay for software. That's to me, when my buddy's got 2 Mark IIIs, and when I watch these things run and they're magical and how they just work every single time, it's software. Everything's software. It's every time Prusa Slicer updates, they have a firmware update for the printer. Mm-hmm. And that's what you pay for. And I understand why you pay for that software. Yes. You want that idiot-proof experience. Mm-hmm. You know, and I tell people that all the time in various Facebook groups and mediums. I'm like, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to learn 3D printing? Because if you are, go buy an Ender. If you're not, go buy a Prusa and you'll figure it out from there. Yep. You know, but building your own unit and getting it running versus, you know, I just need this thing to print whatever I throw at it. That's 2 totally different worlds and sensibilities.
Absolutely. And the review I have coming out tomorrow with this printer that's printing right next to me, this is kind of the print and go printer. Now, it's not as foolproof as one you may spend $1,000 on. This one's cheaper than that, but it's definitely that. It's definitely the printer where I can slice it, and it may take longer to print, and I can't really change anything about the printer, but it worked.
Yeah.
And I was really happy with it. At least the version of firmware, the version of software that I'm running on here, it's so different than a Creality, though, because, again, I could put a new board in it, but why? Yep. You know, and with the motion system that they have on it, it's not something that you're going to change out. So, you know, what are you buying? Who are you buying it for? You know, I'll discuss this in my review tomorrow, which is, you know, this is the tool. This is the thing I want to put in my shop. I'm going to spend a little time to learn to use it. But overall, I'm going to slice it using their software. I'm going to pop it in the machine, and I'm going to just assume everything goes to plan most of the time.
I mean, Uncle Jesse might be able to tag in on this in the comments a little bit, but I hear the same thing about like the Rays with like the Rays into pluses or mm-hmm. you know, all their systems with Idea Maker. I hear that people have issues with other slicers like Cura or Simplify 3D and getting those profiles to print really well with the Rays 3D printers, but you put it in Idea Maker and it's just like
exactly
it knows exactly what it's supposed to do because that printer and that slicer kind of go hand in hand.
So I don't want to leave this behind. JC was talking about he wants to do, kind of showing off the stuff that I'm doing on my channel, showing off the work that you're doing, that kind of thing. And, he wants to show that you can do it with a disability. So I want to point you over, if you haven't seen, and hope I'm not being insensitive saying that, if you haven't seen Tripod's Garage's videos, he's a guy that is doing the same sort of thing. He has a disability. He wants to talk about, getting into other hobbies and show what he's doing with his disability. So go check out Tripod Garage's channel on YouTube.
That's awesome.
Let's see. I think Jesse is, let me see real quick. How much drag? Let's see. I know I'm skipping over some stuff here, guys, and I'm sorry about that, but we got some long comments and I appreciate it. Raise 3D, I only use Idea Maker because it just works.
Yep. Where's the marijuana, Travis?
Yeah, I don't. My icon is not marijuana. That is a K and an F, if that's what you
JC loves his Mark 3S but hates his Ultimaker. See, I've heard a lot of bad stuff about Ultimakers.
Yeah. Let's see. Jesse.
Auto supports are terrible in Prusa Slicer. We were talking about when you got here.
Yeah, before you got here, we were talking about Prusa Slicer. I have installed it, but haven't successfully tried to use it really because I was just playing with it. And but he's been working on it. So, what's your experience?
I just can't get the supports to come off the prints real easily. I've even asked some of my Prusa buddies, and they're like, "I'll just use the stock settings, and they'll be fine." I'm like, "For who?" Because it leaves, rough marks on the prints, and sometimes they're just unmanageable, and you end up breaking apart off of the print. But the supports are absolutely atrocious. I love Simplified 3D supports. They're my go-to.
See, I haven't even used Simplify yet. It was one of those things that I got started on Cura, and I liked Cura from the very beginning. I think it
Cura supports. That's why I went to Simplify 3D.
Yeah, and I don't blame you, because I think for me, Cura supports just required a lot of tuning, and I spent a lot of time figuring out the right settings. And I have to admit, with their latest stuff, I've had plenty of problems getting them to slice under weird conditions before. Let's see. Hey, Travis, stay on topic or you'll be gone. That's the only thing I want to say about that. Let's see. Cura based on their supports.
Yep.
Yeah. Jesse doesn't care for the Cura supports either.
I tried tree supports way back when it was, I don't know if it's still experimental or not, because I haven't updated Cura in like forever. But I like the tree support idea, but they just were terrible kind of in certain areas coming off. I see where they were trying to go with that, but once again, Simplified 3D supports are just superior in like every way to me, as far as just, being able to comb layers so they're not 100% filled or filled to whatever infill percentage you have for your supports, to make them just a little bit easier to just break away from your print part. I just find them so much easier.
I have to say, I got used to using Cura supports a lot from watching some YouTube channels about where to put them properly, to doing a lot of manual support settings, and also using their support blockers. So that's my trick, is every now and then, particularly if I'm printing, let's see, bye-bye. Travis is gone.
Yeah, basement.
I warned him. Anyway, so let's see. So my trick was just learning to where to place them manually. Particularly with the sort of stuff that we started this whole stream with. That. Sorry, he threw me off. Anyway, the stuff that we started talking about at the beginning of the stream, when you're printing really big items, when you're printing cosplay, you usually have a lot of big shapes with maybe some things coming off the side. And so it's very easy to figure out sort of manually where you need the supports. A lot of the times I use the auto generation to give me a hint where I'm going to need supports, then I'll turn the auto generation off and then manually place supports. I find works really well.
I'll do that in Simplify, but I'll usually blow the support size well out of proportion, especially for something like a helmet, because there's going to be a giant support block in the middle, which if I just have like a normal dome-shaped helmet that doesn't have any weird, topping or anything like that, or any stair stepping in the print, I'll just take out all the middle supports. I don't use them. I just make sure the fan's ready to go for bridging when it's filling all that in, and it usually works pretty fine. But I use giant supports to give me an idea, and then I can remove those and then manually set them in Simplify 3D with smaller support sizes that actually fit the or whatever I'm printing, the overhangs, to catch those overhangs.
Yep. But I still find, one thing that I do spend a lot of time doing, my print just failed. Right here in the middle of the stream. That's terrible.
Oh no.
Terrible. All right. So now I've got to stop this print because I'm printing in midair. You know what? It came off the bed. That's what happened. Everything was going so good.
Shoot the printer. No.
Shoot the printer. We're going to pull out the props. I'm just going to put on my plague mask and pretend it didn't happen. There we go. Anyway, so I think we're going to wrap it up here in just a minute. I think I have gone through all of my questions for you. That's the one. We were talking about that the other night.
Oh, the Doom Slayer forearm.
Yeah, that one's awesome.
It's got this gap and needs some muscles in there, man.
I'm glad you saved room for those muscles that you're going to build up before you have to wear them.
Yeah, you have to.
I know. Feel this. What else while I'm stopping this print, what else are you working on right now? Are you still primarily focused on Doomslayer, or are you doing something else?
Doomslayer's primary focus. Finished the Halo Magnum, so I'm going to go back to working on the Mark 47 Iron Man arm. I have a couple other let's max the hell out of the Elegoo Mars build volume props that I'm working on as well. The Smart Pistol from Titanfall 2 is one of them. And Cloud's Buster Sword from Final Fantasy VII. Because I need something absolutely large and ridiculous for no reason.
Just to carry around when you're bored.
Yeah, and since I'm trying to work on a lot of stuff for my own YouTube channel for props and stuff like that, I just wanted to make a video of some giant thing that I'm going to swing around my backyard and look stupid doing, and it's going to be fun.
Terrific. Yeah, I saw that. Any particular one you're going with there?
Oh, yeah. And then
whose model?
Vindicator 9mm Uncle Jesse. He knows what this eye is for. Actually, I'm using Nico Industries Cloud Buster Sword.
Oh, yes. I saw he printed one.
Yeah, it was a great model, and I was in on when they did the pre-order for it. I have so many STLs and files and stuff that I wanted to print, but
tell me about it. You know how long I've been a Patreon supporter of Nico's, and how many files I have sitting in a Nico directory on my file server here?
A ton. Him and like Wesker and Fotis Mint, and actually printed my first Fotis Mint print, and it was the Master Chief bust in the Elegoo Mars. So yeah, it just never ends. I love it because it never ends.
Thanks, Jesse, for hanging out. I appreciate it. We're about to sign off too, but I appreciate you dropping in.
See you later, Chief.
So that is, I mean, I love the stuff you've been doing. That's why I invited you on to talk about this. I couldn't think of anyone better to have on. I've been following your Instagram for quite some time now, probably ever since I got on Instagram. So I appreciate you joining me. Thanks for coming on. Let me go ahead and do this real quick because this was turning out so nice. Multicolor print, and what happened was, look how well these filaments stuck together too. Just came off the print bed.
Oh no!
Look how delicate that was. That's what I get.
Is that silk PLAs?
Only the gold. The gold is a silk. The silver is actually just a regular PLA from Filament One.
Okay,
But
nice.
see, that was turning out just terrific. Oh well, I'm gonna try it again.
We'll stay tuned for that review.
Yeah. Again, this is my fault probably because I didn't have enough surface area adhering that to the bed, and I should have put a brim on that one. Oh well.
Also, I like that. I don't know what that is, that model, but I like it because I'm going to go back and reference myself on Twitter, where I'm a firm believer that we need a new or different benchmark test prints for these printers that are coming out. I'm tired of seeing benchies. Benchies don't really tell me what a printer is capable of necessarily. In certain aspects it does, but there are... I've had printers like a CR10 where I printed an amazing benchy and then went to go print an Iron Man helmet and it came out like absolute crap over and over and over and over again. So we got to brainstorm, us in the communities, and get some better benchmarks for these printers, man.
You know, I talked about it last week with ModBot about how I really like to mix it up. I don't like from review to review. I really don't. I'll print a benchy because it's quick and I know whether the benchy looks like a benchy's supposed to look.
Yep.
Like you can look at the hole, you can look at the overhangs and see if a benchy looks right. But it's just one of those quick, like, is it doing what I expected sort of prints?
Yeah, and it's like I said, I know that a lot of times you're under time constraints for producing the reviews for these printers, and I get it. But I'm gonna keep my eyes open. I'm gonna start throwing models out there to you guys, like, hey.
Also, like these, the tolerance gauges are terrific.
Yep.
This is what's that? Yeah, Angus. This is Maker's Muse.
Yep.
I think I paid for this one. This is kind of his upgraded version that has the little knobs on it. So
nice.
Those turned out really good. And if you're printing dual color, the frog is ridiculously hard to print.
I've seen a lot of fails on that through MMUs.
So, yeah, that one was the same printer. Like I said, I really like the multi-material printing on this printer.
Well, but put the frog up closer so they can see it, because the frog looks sweet with green. Yes, that is so sick.
I mean, these are just two sample filaments I pulled out of my maker box and just said, print this with these two. So these are not the same brand of filament even.
That makes it even better.
Yeah, because they adhere to each other like these. You know, like the dragon I was showing you. Those aren't the same. And these are adhered.
Yep.
Really good to one another, even though there's barely any contact surface. So,
perfect.
Anyway, that's the E-Cube Maker. I've already told everybody what it is. That's the E-Cube Maker Toy DIY 4-in-1. The 3D printer part of that review will be out tomorrow. And then I'm going to do the other two functions in a separate video. So, okay, to sign off here, because I'm still talking. Go ahead and tell them where to find you and what you're working on next and anything else you want to let them know.
So I'm just working away at Doomslayer, Mark 47 Iron Man arm. I have some Cyberpunk 2077 props in the works. The Vindicator 9mm pistol. You might have seen that frame for that in one of Uncle Jeffy's videos. Because it's too big for the Mars. Because, like I said, I like to push the limits on the LNU Mars. So he graciously printed me one. And you can find me on the Twitters and the Instagrams at Off Earth with 2 underscores in between off and earth. So off _ Earth.
That is at off. Yeah. I'm going to spell it in the chat. The _ Earth, just like that.
Yep. Cut and paste. And if you look up Off Earth on Facebook, there's a page there, and I'm starting to filter in information to that. Once I get moved into my new house and get everything set up, there will be a lot more content.
Awesome. Because like I said, I've enjoyed watching your Instagram feed for quite some time now. You get a lot of stuff printed.
Yes. Sometimes I got more stuff printed than I can finish right now, but like I said, I have a lot more stuff coming. Oh, Wonder Woman, her new helmet. I have that
Okay.
printed. I need to go get it all smooth and beautiful. I have some fantastic candy concentrates for gold that I'm going to try to do a nice little video tutorial on how to get golds for your finished products.
That sounds killer. I mean, particularly, like I said, working on an Iron Man, having
Yep.
gold look like gold.
Yep. I have some products.
All right. So I thank you, everyone that's joined us, particularly if you've stuck around here the whole time. Like, thank you for the whole hour and 40 minutes joining us. Again, if you haven't left a like or a reaction or whatever platform you're on, please do that on your way out, because I do notice we get a lot of views on these after the fact. People will pick these up tomorrow and watch them. And so we appreciate the likes.
Woo-hoo.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Tripod. Thanks, 3D Print Viking. Everybody all over the world who has joined us. We appreciate it. And you guys know who I am at this point. Hopefully this isn't your first time on my channel, but if it is, thanks for dropping by. If you just happen to stumble in here, this is what I like to do every week, or almost every week, particularly since we've been quarantined.
Yep.
And I like to fill the void with talking about our favorite hobbies. And each week, as long as I can find someone to join me, I like to do these chats about a particular topic. So look for me on Tuesdays, and that's it for us. Thanks, everybody. And again, Darryl, thanks for joining me this week. It's been a lot of fun.
Hey, no problem, Chris. We've been talking about it for a while. I had to do it.
All right. Talk to you later, guys. See you next time.